UFC Tampa. I got the fucking game on in the back. Let me make sure everybody can hear me. The Patriots versus the Giants is on in the background. Basketball season starting, man. So football is going to take a serious back seat. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Good deal, good deal. Charging, good deal. Yes, we got UFC Tampa. There's a lot of controversy going on. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. With Joanna Champion and Michelle Waterson in the main event. Starts off the main card. Oh, we'll just preface this. The main card would have been a little bit different because they formerly had Brock Weaver and I actually don't have anything written down. I'll tell you my picks, but I don't have anything written down for Nico Price, James Vick. But it was formerly supposed to be Brock Weaver versus Thomas Gifford on the main card. Brock Weaver fell out of that fight, and they replaced him with fellow Island Fight alumni Mike Davis. But when that happened, James Vick and Nico Price fight got moved to the fight right before the co-main event. So they are now on the main card, and Mike Davis versus Thomas Gifford has moved to the co-main event of the prelims. Total yards not looking good for the Giants here. Did he fumble? Oh, no. No fumble there. The main card kicks off Eric Anders versus Joe Mearshart, power punches and kicks, and Eric Anders grappling background from Joe Mearshart. Anders 12-4, 4-4 in the UFC. He was on a 3-fight losing streak with Thiago Santos, Elias Theodoro, and Khalil Roundtree Jr. before he knocked out Vinces Moreira back in June. 8 out of 12 of his wins are by knockout, and he's never been submitted. He's only been knocked out once, and it wasn't a knockout, it was a doctor stoppage. And that was against Thiago Santos. Gerald Mearshart's 29-11, far more experience. What's that? Fucking 40 fights compared to Anders 16. 21 out of 29 of his wins are via submission. He was on a 2-fight losing streak against Jack Hermanson and Kevin Holland before submitting Trevin Giles in his last fight, which was August 3rd, so it was about 2 months ago. 8 submission losses and only 1 knockout loss on his record. Not easy to finish Joe Mearshart, but it has been done. He has been knocked out. He has been submitted. Yeah, I think he has the grappling advantage. Eric Anders. So I'm not going to necessarily say that Anders is going to get a submission, but I do see every fight standing to start, and Eric Anders does have a good chance of landing some good power shots before the fight ends up going to the ground, if it ends up going to the ground at all. My pick's Eric Anders, probably knockout first, second round. Second, we would have Matt Frevola versus Luis Pena. Frevola 7-1-1, the Long Island mixed martial artist. 1-1 or 7-1-1, sorry. 1-1-1 in the UFC. He beat Jalen Turner in his most recent fight by decision in April. He had a draw with Lando Venata, which is pretty impressive. And just before that, he got knocked out by Polo Reyes in his UFC debut. Luis Pena 7-1, 3-1 in the UFC. 6 out of 7 of his wins are via finish. He has never been finished in his career. His only loss was a split decision loss to Michael Chisano. I believe that was either his debut or his second fight in the UFC. Since then, he's on a 2-fight winning streak, decision over Steven Peterson, and a knockout over Matt Wyman, which was in Greenville. Right back here, June 22nd, this past summer. He fought on that card. We went to go see him live. We were going to hang out with him afterwards, but, schedules got a little mixed up there. McKenzie Dern, obviously I picked Luis Pena knockout. I'd say first round it's going to be in, just because of the level of competition they fought so far and just the streak that Luis Pena is on. I would have to give it to Pena there, so I'm going to go Pena. Same fate as Anders, probably a knockout first or second round. Third fight would be McKenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas. Dern is 4 months removed from giving birth. So pretty quick turnaround after she gave birth. She came into the fight week about 5 pounds over, which is the smallest she's ever came in a fight week at. Normally, McKenzie Dern is known for missing weight or having weight issues on fight week, and it's good to hear that she's very, very close to hitting her target weight. And this was when the news came that she was about 5 pounds out. It was maybe Monday, and the fight's on Saturday, so a little under a week away. It's pretty good for Amanda Dern. McKenzie Dern. She is 7-0. She has 4 submissions, no knockouts, 2-0 in the UFC. She got a split decision over Ashley Yoder and a rear naked choke against Amanda Cooper. And now she will be fighting Amanda Ribas. So it's like she's going after the A's, Ashley, Amanda, and Amanda. Stupid thing to say, but every time I see the opponent she's fighting in the UFC, that's what I think about. So, got to say it out loud once or twice. Amanda Ribas is 7-1, 1-0 in the UFC with a rear naked choke over Emily Whitmire in June, and her only loss being to Paulina Viana back in Jungle Fights 83 in 2015. She lost by knockout. So she's susceptible to being knocked out. Those stand-up moves, McKenzie Dern's more of a ground guy. She's more of a ground girl. She gets down most of her wins are coming by submission. Most of her positive attack is coming off of ground fighting, submission fighting, grappling. So here we go. Daniel John's going to make a run for it. Gain of nothing. They cancel a fucking trade here. These guys are going to try to screw me. Now we go back to the YouTube here. Got it up. Good deal. McKenzie Dern. I don't know where I was. I just got lost a little bit, but McKenzie Dern by submission I got. Not the easiest decision there, just because I think Amanda Ribas is probably going to do a really good job of standing with her the first 2 rounds. But I think, McKenzie Dern is going to be able to stay away from the power, stay away from the majority of the strikes, and then take her. She's going to do the whole takedown with a minute or 2 left, hold her down. Takedown with a minute or 2 left, hold her down. Takedown with a minute or 2 left, and she'll get her way to a unanimous decision there. Right in between the Cub Swanson Gracie fight, that's where we're going to put the James Vick Nico Price fight. And I did not, I don't know their records. I didn't go doing the deep dive into looking up who I think is going to win this fight. This is purely off of what I can remember off the top of my head. James Vick losing to Justin Gaethje. What was James Vick's most recent loss? Was that the Gaethje fight? He's been knocked out a few times, is my point, James Vick. And Nico Price has got that power in his hands from the top, from the bottom, standing up. He's got that knockout from against Randy Brown, while Randy Brown was above him. And Nico Price is on his back with hammer fists from the bottom. It's the first time I've ever seen somebody get knocked out with hammer fists from the bottom. Nico Price knocks out Randy Brown. Oh, man, punt is blocked. And touchdown Patriots. That's fucked up. Hopefully that counts towards – I got the Patriots defense on my fantasy. Hopefully that counts towards towards their defense, a blocked punt and touchdown. That would be sick for me. I'm going to fucking murk that dude this week if that's the case. So, yeah, I got Nico Price in that hits his own teammate right in the fucking back of the helmet. Nico Price by knockout in that fight. We got Cub Swanson. Gracie is also a little bit of a storyline there, as Cub Swanson in his last couple fights. What is Cub? He's on a 4-fight losing streak. 2 out of 4 of those fights is him getting submitted by Brian Ortega and Renato Moicano. He also lost decisions to Frankie Edgar and Shane Burgos. But in those 2 fights that he got submitted, he obviously can see that one of his weaknesses is getting taken down in his grappling submission game. Therefore, he tried to go seek some help, especially fighting at Gracie, training at some kind of Gracie Jiu Jitsu schools. And he said that he was turned down by all Gracie Jiu Jitsu schools that he went to. for the reason that he's going to be fighting a Gracie. Kron Gracie actually commented on this, and he said he kind of mentioned a little bit of a, turning your back on your team a little bit. Like why would he want to go to his opponent's family's gym instead of just trying to work on his jiu-jitsu in his own gym? I kind of understand that, but I kind of, at the same time, if he would have lucked up and found a Gracie gym that would have trained him, they would have trained him in the same style of Gracie Jiu Jitsu that Kron Gracie has mastered the entire. We all know that he works, Kron Gracie works out at Cesar Gracie Jiu Jitsu with Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz, I think, is his head coach. So same style of Jiu Jitsu, learning how to defend some of those things would help Cub Swanson get to his feet and be able to work his stand-up. Unfortunately, he got turned down, which only looks bad for Cub Swanson, in my opinion. He's 25-11, so, he's got a lot of experience. Experience is definitely on his side compared to Kron Gracie in the MMA world. Not in the jiu-jitsu world. I don't think Cub Swanson really has any kind of jiu-jitsu, grappling, any kind of, mixed martial arts background like that. But he does have, 36 fights, pro fights under his belt. An interesting stat is 7 out of his 11 losses are by submission. So not only are 2 out of these last 4 fight losing streak that he's on losses, 7 out of 11 of his losses. So only 4 of his losses did not come by submission. Kron Gracie, of course, 5-0, 1-0 in the UFC with a rear naked choke over Alex Caceres in his debut. We said trains with Nate Diaz. All 5 of his wins are via submission. He's 29-11 submission grappling record. And what's interesting about that is you say, oh, if he's such a good grappler, how does he have 11 losses in submission grappling? Listen to this lineup right here. Marcus Almeida, Marcelo Garcia, Sergio Moraes. And Sergio Moraes was actually the debut of his submission grappling career, his first ever submission grappling match. Those were only 3 out of his 11 losses that actually submitted him. All 8 of the other losses were points losses. He lost by points. He did not get submitted by those other 8 people. He's only been submitted in submission grappling 3 times by 2 of the greats, Marcus Almeida and Marcelo Garcia, and then Sergio Moraes. But that was his fucking grappling debut, day 1, the first time he jumped onto a grappling tournament or a fucking match or whatever he did. The first one, he lost. Other than that, he lost to 2 legends by submission, and that's it. Other than that, it was by points or he won. He's a nasty on the ground. It's absolutely crazy how good he is on the ground. I don't see any way that Cub Swanson could keep this standing unless it's like as soon as they come out there, before he can get a takedown or anything, Cub Swanson just fucking rocks him right off the bat. If that doesn't happen, 100% I could see Kron Gracie getting the submission win there. And that's 99% of the time. As long as he can get him to the floor somehow, it's going to be a submission win for Kron Gracie, in my opinion. Which brings us to the main event, which has a lot of, speculation, controversy, a lot of different things going around the main event. Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Michelle Waterson. Jędrzejczyk came to the UFC a week prior to the fight, so I guess that would be Saturday. They didn't put it public to the media until about Monday or Tuesday. But on Saturday, they came and said, we're not going to make 115. What can we do about this? Is there any kind of catch weight or anything like that? UFC gave the idea to Michelle Waterson. Michelle Waterson turned down a catch weight fight. She turned down a fight with both McKenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas. Just say, hey, Joanna can't make weight. You'll fight one of these girls. Maybe one of these girls will take a catch weight fight with Joanna. We get to switch it up like that. Michelle Waterson says, no, I'm not doing that either. It's just being really difficult. So eventually, the UFC gives her 2 options. Either you're going to fight Joanna at a catch weight, or you're going to fight at UFC 244, which I believe is in the next month, November something, against Jessica Andrade, which, you're going to lose either fight, I believe. In my opinion, Michelle Waterson will lose Joanna and Jessica Andrade. Probably not going to get knocked stiff unconscious by Joanna. So I would fucking If that was my options, I'd be like, all right, so what weight we fighting at? You know what I mean? But that didn't have to happen. Joanna seen how much of a fuss Michelle was making about the fight. She said, they went to a couple more doctors, got a couple more second opinions, and it was determined that she is going to go for it. She's going to try to make the 115-pound limit. And there's a lot of controversy. And I got to say, I don't want to say that I've been paying attention to it because it's not that big of a deal in my world at all. It's, women are women, fighters are fighters. Just so happens some fighters are women. Some women Some women actually train in MMA and they get to the biggest, highest level, but they're still women. They still have a thought process of a woman. So Joanna Jędrzejczyk went out and got, what would you call the surgery? Breast enhancement. She got a boob job. She got bigger boobs. And a lot of people are speculating, this is why her weight cut was so hard. But if you really think about it, if you look back at her first fight with Rose Namajunas, she put out, I think it was in the Embedded or it was somewhere, that there's videos of her just fucking suffering in the hot bathtub for fucking hours and just crying and going and saying she had trouble making the weight then. And she didn't have the surgery then. She just recently had the surgery after her second Rose fight. I think that was second Rose fight. Yeah, it was her last fight. And, oh shit, Daniel John's going deep. Doesn't get it. So in my personal opinion, it doesn't have anything to do with it. I think she needs to move up to 125 anyway, Yeah. And it's kind of sucky to see in Joanna's situation, because Joanna was at a point where she was the champion. She actually said, we have a surprise for you guys, after I beat Rose, yada, yada. We're going to move up to 125. She basically announced, so she didn't say it, but she basically announced, I'm going to move up to 125. I'm going to try to go after their belt over there. Maybe I'm going to fight the champion. It's going to be a champion versus champion as a woman. Whatever the case was, she had a big announcement. Everybody knew it was going to be to 125. And then she loses. So you kind of feel bad for her. She had the big announcement, then she loses. It's got to be embarrassing. And now she just feels like she has to keep killing her body to get to 115. It's like you were planning to move up to 125 originally. I know somewhat it had to do with the whole I want to be double champ, this and that, whatever the case is. But at the same time, I know in my head, especially seeing what she went through in that weight cut for that Rose fight, it had a lot to do with the weight. It had a lot to do with not wanting to get down to 115 anymore and getting up to 125. So what does she do? She loses the belt, and then she fights at 115 3 more times. Like, in my opinion, I don't get it. I don't get why you would do that to yourself. You had planned to move up anyway. You lost the belt. You got another crack at it. You lost again. That's it. Just go up now. Go. I know you don't want to say like you gave up. Like nobody wants to say they gave up, but at the same time, like you had the belt, lost it. They gave you a second chance at the belt, lost that fight too. Like, stop killing yourself. Stop hurting your longevity. But it's not me speaking to the fighters. It's their health coaches or whoever it may be, and it just is what it is at that point. You got to just see what they're going to do with their career. If she gets a win here against Michelle Waterson, it puts her right back at the top of the division. So God knows what she's going to do then. There's a new champion. It's not Rose anymore. It's Wale Zhang. She's never fought Wale Zhang. And it would have been it would have been a bigger story if Jessica Andrade led the belt and Joanna were the challenger, because it would be a rematch. Joanna has already beaten her. She's never fought Wale Zhang. Who knows if they're going to give her the next title shot if she beats Waterson. I say if, but I got Joanna by decision. I just think she's going to dominate her for 5 rounds straight. I see that she has knockout power. I see that Michelle Waterson is capable of being knocked out. Submitted, I'm not too sure about, but I think Joanna will be able to outstrike her for 5 rounds. And Joanna's got cardio, so as long as the weight cut doesn't hurt her too much as far as cardio goes, I think she'll be all right, and she'll get a unanimous decision there. The rest of the card is stacked. I know we could talk all day about the entire the whole situation with Joanna. But the rest of the card is stacked. Like I said earlier, Nico Price, James Vick, Ryan Spann, Devin Clark is going to be a banger. Max Griffin, Alex Moreno, Stevenson Figueroa versus Tim Elliott. Hold on, here goes Brady. Boom, got him. Marlon Vera, Andre Well. I like Andre Well in that one. Miguel Beza versus Hector Aldana. Marvin Vittori, Andrew Sanchez was supposed to happen back in Canada, I think, a few weeks ago. Somebody got hurt. Andrew Sanchez, I believe, got hurt. And then they moved it to this card, so that fight will be happening. J.J. Aldridge versus Laura Muir. Then, of course, what we said earlier, Mike Davis, who will be replacing Brock Weaver going against Thomas Gifford. Which I think even that, I thought the Brock Weaver fight was a good fight versus Thomas Gifford. But, I mean, now Mike Davis versus Thomas Gifford, I think it's a really good fight. It's a great fight for Mike Davis, in my opinion. Mike Davis came to the UFC. He came in on short notice. He fought Gilbert Burns. That's a tough fight to take on short notice. He comes in on short notice again. He fights Thomas Gifford. Of course, no disrespect to Thomas Gifford, but he's not on the same level as Gilbert Burns by any means. So I think it's a lot better of a matchup for Mike Davis, even though when I talked to Mike Davis before he got into the UFC, when I asked him once he gets into the UFC, who does he want to fight? He told me he wants to fight to beat. He said, I want to fight the best. I believe I could beat the best. I want to fight to beat Magomed Sharipov. And ballsy. That's a ballsy fucking call out, in my opinion. They gave him a ballsy-ass phone to Gilbert Burns, and he did pretty good. I mean, he didn't get the shit kicked out of him the whole fight. He did pretty damn good. Didn't go the way he wanted. He ended up getting submitted, I believe. But short notice, Gilbert Burns is he does submission grappling just as much as Kron Gracie. I think Gilbert Burns actually has a win over Kron Gracie via points in submission grappling. When you get on the ground with Gilbert Burns, it's not going to be a fun night, unless you're a guy like that, a guy like Kron Gracie or somebody like that. Then it could be fun for the fans. I love those. People don't like the grappling matches, the jiu-jitsu matches. They think that it's boring, rolling around on the ground, whatever. It's not fighting. But when you get two guys that are extremely good at jiu-jitsu, and not only can they try to submit each other and they're flipping each other, reversing each other and shit, but it's an MMA fight, so they're also punching each other in the face and elbowing and fucking just all sorts of things that incorporate into MMA while it's a super high class jiu-jitsu match. It's pretty amazing because if you watch, I don't really like watching jiu-jitsu matches either because some of the things they do, especially the gi, I can't stand watching the ones with the gi. No gi, I'll watch some. It's not the worst because no gi, you could see a lot more that's going on when there's a gi on. And these guys are slipping their hands through and they're getting the gi to pull through, and the camera, you can't really, unless you're there, I guess. If you're there, you're sitting right next to them, you could probably see exactly what's going on. But when you're on TV and they're 10 feet away with the camera and they're fucking pointing the camera in, you can't really see where the fuck they're trying to choke you at with the gi and shit like that. It's just no fun. It's no fun to watch. But just imagine a no-gi jiu-jitsu match where you could punch people and elbow people and shit like that. And if it just so happens that you guys stand up and somebody needs to get a takedown, you could throw a fucking flying knee. It's really, really, really exciting to me. I do believe that when you get a guy like what happened with Tyron Woodley and Danny Amaya, boring as shit. Very boring. Although that wasn't a grappling thing. I'm just giving an example. He just kept stuffing takedowns over and over and over and over and over again, and that was it. Same concept when it comes to a boring grappler. It's when it's just a boring grappler versus a not good grappler. He just takes him down. He's constantly doing that move where you pull down on his lower back to pull him away from the cage and get your top pressure onto his chest. And it's just a lot of pulling and control. And, nobody, as far as a combat violence fan, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see grabbing and holding you down and stuff like that. That's not entertaining. But you see these two guys they get on the ground and try to put each other in an arm bar, then they flip and they put you in a rear naked choke, and then they flip from the rear naked choke and they shimmy you off the top, and now you're the bottom guy. He grabbed his leg after he was shimming him off the top, so he puts him in one of those like fucking banana split things like Zabit did to Brandon Davis, and they just keep rolling and rolling and rolling to different submissions. That's exciting. It's just a different type of fight. So I don't know what got me on that. I think we were talking about Mike Davis and we were talking about Gilbert Burns, but I don't know what got me talking about the boring jiu-jitsu versus the exciting jiu-jitsu. But now you guys know the difference. So there that is. It's a big, huge card going on this weekend big weekend this weekend for MMA. I think there's 2 one championship cards. There is a Bellator card, a UFC card. I believe that's it. There's actually an Island Fights card on right now with probably one of the great. If you got UFC Fight Pass, I'm fucking mad jealous. If anybody in the chat has UFC Fight Pass, if you could, please drop me your login information so I can watch the fight. It's probably going to be one of the best fights in Island Fight with Jared Gooden and Marcel Stamps. 2 knockout artists. Guys going to come try to take each other's heads off. And I know the other guy, Javanis Ross, Jacob Kilburn. It's going to be a good fight. Jacob Kilburn's a monster. And same thing with Ross. They're both killers. I wouldn't say that has a running to be on paper. Could be. Anything can happen when the fight actually happens. But on paper, Marcel Stamps and Jared Gooden are the greatest fight in Island Fights history on paper. We'll see what happens. Of course, I'm not going to be able to watch it. I don't have anybody's password. Try to people up on Twitter, Facebook, all that. Nothing works, so it's whatever. I see the stream's freezing. We're probably going to shut it down here soon. I'm going to go inside, call the fam. Everybody's got the picks in. What's next week? This is Saturday. I could not be sure if we're going to do something this weekend. It's going to be a game time decision. Of course, just check out the channel on Saturday anyway. Browse through some old videos if you like. And then possibly during that fight, the fight time, we'll be doing a live fight campaign. It's at like 5. The prelim started at like 5, and the main card starts at like 8. So it's an early fight card. I don't see why we wouldn't do something for it, but we'll see. We got to see how everything goes. Announce bouts. Giants doing pretty damn good here. Only down 7-0. I think Brady's threw a pick. They've got a couple punts going from New England. It's pretty good. Next fight card next week after this Saturday is going to be Boston, Dominic Reyes versus Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman's debut at light heavyweight. Yair Rodriguez, Jeremy Stevens got put in that card after the controversy that happened to them in Mexico City. Greg Hardy versus Ben Sassoli. Joe Lozon, Jonathan Pierce. Macy Barber, Jillian Robinson, Deron Wynn versus Darren. Another pick. Daniel Jones just throws another interception. Good Lord, man. It's going to be battle of interceptions here. Kyle Bosniak and Sean Woodson. Molly McCann's on that card. Charles Rose versus Manny Bermudez. Randy Costa, Boston Salmon. Court McGee, Sean Brady. Bunch of good fights on there. Kevin Holland had an opponent. He backed out, and he got a replacement fight, so that's always good. Oh, he got hit on the arm as he threw it, so it came out weird. Sucks, dude. It really does, but really does. But that's it, guys. That's it's gonna be it for this week. The preview, of course. Come check it out on the weekend. See if we're doing a live fight campaign. I wish we could have did one this week with the Island Fights, but it just didn't work out. We'll probably see the results somewhere or something. I don't know what the fuck how the hell I'm gonna find it, but I'll look it up after the fights tomorrow morning. Hopefully we see the highlights. If it truly is the greatest fight in Island Fights history, there's got to be something on Twitter. Somebody posting a highlight of something on Twitter, the highlights of it, if it's just a banger or the knockout, if it's an insane knockout. But hopefully something like that comes about. And I'll be able to see it. If not, I'll be looking up the results I'll be seeing if I can get Jared Gooden to send me something. I'm actually going to go train with Jared Gooden probably later on this year out in Atlanta. So good luck to him. I'll be rooting for him. I hope he does good tonight. And see you guys this weekend, either this weekend or next Thursday. Next Thursday for the preview show. This weekend for the fight companion. Yeah, guys. I think we're out.